think that this thing has really missed me, and we need today to give it a little bit of TLC. Give me a good day. So as you know, I've been spending so much time at the cabin, I totally do not give this thing the attention that it deserves. This has been my favorite shelter here at the school property since the day we put it up. And then we built the cabin and I'm like gravitating towards that, but I still love this thing and it's cooling down. The weather is cooling down finally. It's only in the 50s here today in Pennsylvania. So it's like bushcraft, hunting, trapping weather, winter's coming. It's gonna be great. But I was thinking about this thing and I thought it's time to clean this up. So one thing that we deal with this is that because we leave it up year round through the summer months, the humidity picks up, it gets a little bit damp inside there, it starts to stink a little bit. Not too bad. I mean, we try to air it out the best we can, but then you get some mosquitoes and gnats and little black bugs flying around. So you get some cobwebs, all that stuff when you just let something sit for a while. Even out here in the whole front area, which I'm going to show you around here in a second if you've never even seen this, just overgrown. It's just not taken care of and we need to update this thing for the upcoming winter months. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to hang out at the yurt, clean some stuff up. I brought a broom. We're going to sweep a little bit. We're going to make this thing all nice and neat again, the way it should be. A proper yurt bushcraft shelter. So before we start cleaning this thing, I wanted to thank Skillshare because Skillshare is the sponsor of today's video. It's letting this thing happen. So if you don't know what Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes to inspire your creativity, teach you new skills, and just get you motivated to get out there and do some cool stuff. So take me for example, I spend a lot of time in the outdoors, but I like to share that time in the outdoors with everybody out there. So I have to have some skill set around running a camera and taking good photos. And that's where Skillshare for me comes into play. I jump on there and I look at new videos from different creators and how they do things. If it's videography, if it's photography, if it's just using your iPhone to take better Instagram pictures, it's all really good stuff. And just recently I watched a video, Fundamentals of Photo Editing from Justin Bridges. Great video. So he lays out all different ways that you can edit your photos to make them look just pristine, and you don't have to change your photo to the point that it looks fake. I mean, you can just take little key factors out. You know, sometimes you take a photo and there's like, look at this crazy thing in the background. How do we get rid of that? And how do we make just the pictures more eye appealing? And good stuff. So what I'd like you to do is click the link below, because for a limited time, by clicking that link in my description box, you'll get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. Definitely an awesome thing to check out, and it's free, so you can't beat it. So definitely click that link below and check it out. And thanks Skillshare for sponsoring this video, but now I got to get to my yurt chores, housekeeping, cleaning, maid duties, all that kind of stuff. All right, so probably where we should start with the yurt, because I haven't been spending a lot of time here. Everybody knows the cabin, but maybe all you followers that are newer don't know anything about the yurt. So the yurt has been up now for almost 5 years. We leave it up year round. It was a whitish, grayish color when we got it, but I paint it every so often just with Rust-Oleum paint, and it really helps protect the outside. The yurt itself is 13 feet in diameter. So it's like primo for one person. And the reason that I say that is because if you have a cot inside, which I have a cot inside there, and you have your table and your tools and your firewood and your small little wood stove, it's like a home away from home. You feel super comfortable. There's enough room to move around. There's enough room to cook and process your meals, and you can hang up some laundry if you have it. It's great. 2 people. It still works really, really well, okay? But it starts to feel like you're just out in a shelter at that point, because especially in the winter when they have a lot of gear and everybody's loading in there, definitely doable, but it's not as perfect as when it's just your yurt. And if you have 3 people in there, it becomes too cluttered, too tight. It's just not fun. So 13-foot yurt, 2 people, okay. 1 person, perfect. And you know, that's all I really have to say about that. So the other thing that I know I'm gonna get asked is who made the yurt. So this came from American Yurts out of Ohio. Unfortunately, the man that owned the company passed away, so it is no longer. So American Yurts, you can't get one of these anymore. But there's a lot of yurt companies out there. Yurts are expensive. He was very reasonably priced with this, and it has held up tremendous. And out of all the shelters that we have had here at the school, from big debris shelters to lean-tos to the old wall tent, this in the Eastern Woodlands, literally, I think the shape of it, and it holds the snow load real well in the winter. This is by far the best shelter that we've had, like by far. So I highly recommend it. A couple other little tidbits about it. It is on what some people would say is like a platform. It's not a platform. It's just we put dirt down. We threw these timbers down, and then we put some stone. So it's like it's not too big, it's the smaller stone, but that's what it lays on. So there's a stone floor on the inside. And then inside this joint we have our stove in the center. We have a table over on this side that we can work on. I have a small little table in the back, some shelving, and then on this side, which you can't see, the side I'm on, we have our cot. So there's a ton of cobwebs in here. I don't know if there's any bugs left in here or not, but we're gonna get all this cleaned up, and it's gonna be, people are gonna wanna move in, all right? That's what I'm gonna say. Another unfortunate tragedy. This is after a few years now. We finally suffered our first. So I'm gonna have to patch that. I don't have patch material. As you know, we sew pouches, bags, and everything heavy duty, so we should be fine with it. I'm gonna have to just sit and hand stitch that one day, but that'll be another project, another video for all you. Oh, hey there. Oh. So people ask a lot about our cast iron, like do we just let it out here? And I have some cast iron, it was like my great-grandparents' cast iron, so that stuff I don't leave out here. But the other cast iron, the majority of it we let at the school. I'll tell you 2 reasons. Number 1, because we're a little bit lazy when it comes to carrying it back and forth, and we're here all the time. So as we keep taking it back and forth, it's like, well, why don't you just keep it here, right? The second thing was, experimental wise, we were like, well, what if we let this stuff out? I mean, does it get bad real quick? Can we store it long-term outside? Just as a reference for like long-term wilderness living. Now, of course, you'll be using it more often, but really, for something like cast iron, here, you can see, I mean, it was in this shelter, but it just has a little bit of dirt and scum on it. You can really easily clean that up and you are back to good. The only thing that we do like to do with that is when it's done, of course, you want to oil it up. But if it sits for a while, that oil can get rancid and it can get moldy. So you really, after you oil it, you need to wipe it out really good. And you still have a chance of that little bit of mold buildup. So at that point then, of course, you want to wash it really good with just water. You don't want to scrub because you don't want to get off all of that good seasoning you built on there. And then we usually put it on the fire with nothing in it. Cook it a little bit, throw some water in it, cook it a little bit more, and then it's like back to 100%. And I can tell you firsthand, we do that and it works. It works perfect. This is like a bushcraft jackpot. Dry bark and birch bark. Where does this stuff even come from? I am in heaven right now. This is so great. A little bit of homemade rope. I was looking for rope. I'm going to use that. This is wonderful. This is, man, this made my day. All right. But I have to do those. I got to get a container. Hold on. I'm just going to use the big wash basin. I can carry that out then because I think there's a lot of stuff here, like old rags. What is that? Crazy stuff here that we can take out here, like to the cabin. That's a nice bowl to go to the cabin. See how we're just taking stuff from here and not fixing it? Okay, this. Clean. All right, my next little contraption. So this thing, see how it has a handle on there too? What I use this for is this is the perfect length wood for our stove. So when I'm cutting up wood on the sawbuck, I grab this thing, I lay it there, start sawing, set it off to the side, and I go. So this was just a scrap piece of wood we had around. I don't know where the handle came from, but the handle's on there, and it works great. So that we must keep. Jack Daniels doesn't go bad. Gonna keep that. I'm not gonna keep walking in and out though. Old bottle, that can go. We don't need that. Coffee pot. How can you live without a percolator? We need that. Okay, my maul. Whack, whack, whack. Need that. Is this stuff any good? Probably get rid of this. But this stuff, this Barkeeper's Friend, it's like a powdered detergent. It doesn't. It's fine. You can use it right now. It doesn't get like hard like a brick or anything, but this stuff's great for washing. So we use this wash bin here to clean our dishes. You just sprinkle some of this in. It works great and it holds a really long time. So I think I'm gonna keep this here. Old coffee. Who even would bring instant coffee? Oh, people. Next, I'm like full of hot tips and good ideas for everybody. So these little baking pans are great for plates. You go to a dollar store. We have what we call a Dollar Tree around here. They're $1. We buy like 10 of them. You have 10 really nice plates. They hold up really long. And like now this is getting a little bit rusty and stuff. It's trash. And it's only $1 and we used it a ton of times. It's just great. On and end things, need it. You can never go wrong with a nice can opener, folks. And then we just have some trays and yeah, we'll keep these. In case we need them. In case we need them. So let me get this stuff back in there. So here is, we have our blacksmith setup. That is an old hand crank forge. I'll show you a close-up of it. Behind it is the anvil. And then we have our shave horse and a sawbuck back there for wood processing, things like that. And then as you sweep around this way, just a fire pit, and we are totally out of firewood here. So that's something that we're gonna have to prep and get done. But you can tell everything's just overgrown. It needs a good raking and stuff. And I got out the old-fashioned weed whacker for that. You ever see one of these things? So you basically just swing it. And not only do you get crazy with it, but you cut the weeds, and then it helps your golf swing. So if you're a big-time golfer, you can come out and do that. I don't golf. I have golfed. I don't golf anymore. Now I don't need this tool immediately, but how can you do a video with Coalcracker and not have a little bushcrafting happening, right? So I was gonna get rid of this rake out of here, but then I was like, this has been here since we put this place up. So it needs to stay. So you notice no handle on it, so we're gonna add a handle. I'm gonna show you What I have found that works really, really well, I'm sure there's 1,000 ways to do this. I have done this numerous ways. Everything from heating this up red hot to slowly like burning this down inside to drilling an end out and pounding this in. I'm going to show you an alternate method. Now, here's what I want to say about this. You're probably thinking, well, what does that do with bushcraft? Number one, we're at a shelter out in the middle of the woods, so think the long-term wilderness living thing. Second part of it is like you can find these type of rake heads at any yard sale, junk store, like old barn sale, anywhere. Probably for $1/4, and then you could put this together and have yourself a nice rake camp, especially if you go somewhere where somebody lets you gives you access to their property and says, hey, you can use this little spot. You can just keep that there and you don't have to worry about like having a big expensive rake. Or in my case, the whole video, I use that crazy red broom, right? How much cooler would it be if we like a traditional broom I made, right? So that's what we're doing here. So I'm going to pre-plan this, I'm going to split this thing out, but I want to come up a little bit higher than where it's going to go in, okay? So right about where my finger is going to be a good spot for this. I don't have a small little saw with me, so I'm going to have to make do with this big bow saw, but that's okay. It'll still get the job done. What we're going to do is we're going to cut this about halfway. Now, depending on the wood and the grain of the wood, you might be able to put your knife down in here and pop it like that, okay? Again, this is going to depend on the wood, the grain of the wood, if you're going to be able to do that or not. There's a chance that if this is all gnarly, that's not going to happen. So if that was the case, all you're going to do is you're going to take your knife and you're going to lightly baton it into here. Like you hear what I said, lightly. You don't want to get crazy. Lightly baton in, twist from the top, and that'll pop it free. So I'm going to take this top section now, and right down the center of it, I'm going to carve a V-notch. Okay, so I'm just going to run my knife down both sides. This doesn't have to be super pretty. We just need to make a little bit of room. See, I'm cutting away from myself too, everybody, so you're not going to be slicing yourself open when you're doing this. So just something rough and rugged like that. We're going to lash this on, but remember when we rake, there's a lot of pressure this way, okay? So when we lash this, we're going to have to run our lashing not only a straight lash on here, but then I'm also going to run a crisscross through here and tie it off. All right, so you can see this better now that I'm all finished. So we have the top of the rake right here has the paracord on it. That paracord comes back to our top lash. That knot is not going to allow it to pull down because the lash is holding that in place. The lash is also squeezing it. So we're squeezing this rake head on and we're holding it this way so we can't get it pulled that way. Now we have ourselves a nice rake. And just like that, everything's clean. We weed whacked, clean this whole bad boy out. It is ready to go for the fall, winter. It's gonna be great. But point being of this whole thing, so you might be like, well, what is even happening right now? I wanted to bring everybody out to the yurt. I haven't been here for a while. Nice day out in the woods. It's nice and cool. We get the flannels back on. It's a great day. But more so, just think about this in general. So yeah, I was cleaning here and weed whacking with a hand weed whacker, and you're like, it's not super bushcrafty. But in one of my passions, long-term wilderness living, these would be things that we would need to do on a regular basis. Just same as we clean our house at home. If you clean your house at home, kind of thing, you would need to clean your shelter, your living environment, more than just living out of it, okay? I know even in the wintertime when we're in here for the Bushman course and we're in there for 5 days, stuff just starts getting all over the place. It gets messy. Outside gets a mess. So it's maintenance, and it's things that we don't think about in the realm of bushcraft and survival and long-term wilderness living that are necessities and things that we're going to do. So you look at guys like a Dick Prenicky. He had snow shovels made up there. He had to shovel paths down to the water source. I'm sure stuff overgrown that he had to clean and take care of. but we get so sucked in sometimes, and I think it's because we don't get to spend enough time out, that it's the little, hey, how do you make a fire? We're gonna boil water, we're gonna do this, but we overlook these big household type chores. So just think about that stuff, and think about maybe in your case, what kind of skill set that you can touch up on, that if you get an opportunity to go out longer term, you can put that stuff to use. So I hope you enjoyed this. Again, fun time at the Yurt. Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, making it happen. Click that link. Click the link down below. Get your free trial now, and you're gonna enjoy it, I promise. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, check us out at coalcrackerbushcraft.com for all our school blog, merchandise, all that good stuff. And until next video, stay in the woods or in your yurt, whatever you got. Let's get outside.